Contrary to popular belief, the Joestar bloodline that we see in the show is not so linear as you would expect. Before you go into the show, you honestly kind of expect almost everybody to be either sons or close, very close relatives to whoever is going into the next part. But a lot of the times, that's just not the case. Part 1 and 2, okay, grandfather, grandson, same with part 2 and 3. Then from part 3 and 4, it gets a little crazy. You go from grandfather, grandson to now uncle, nephew, except the 16-year-old is the uncle and the 28-year-old is the nephew. Then from part 5 on, if you really want to know the relations, those are real crazy. Think about the relation from Jotaro to Giorno. That's like a 3 times great uncle. You know what I mean? Grand uncle, great grand uncle. Then from Jolene to Giorno, it's just more crazy ass relations. That's why today I want to talk about some of the most forgotten Joestars within the Joestar family tree, because even though we have the main Joestars, they are those of the main Joestar's immediate family. Like for example, someone like Johnny's brother Nicholas. And speaking of Nicholas, why not start with him? Nicholas Joestar was the older brother of Johnny Joestar, and this is part 7 spoilers, so if you haven't read part 7 completely or you haven't gotten to this part of the backstory, please skip through this part. We don't see much about Nicholas in part 7, but we do know that he was a very impactful part of Johnny's life. He was the guy where when their father would be a little bit too angry or too hasty or do whatever, he would be comforting Johnny. And we saw that on one particular night when Johnny, he brought home a mouse that he named Danny, which is basically this version's of part 1's Danny. And once his father saw it, he lost his shit and told him, flush that shit down the toilet. Now, he was crying about it and he didn't want to do it, so Nicholas came to him with the idea of just releasing it into the wild so that now it's gone and their father would never have to see it, but you don't have to go through the pain of killing it. And Johnny did that. But years later, or like a few months later really, Johnny and Nicholas are at the horse race track. And while at the horse race track, while Nicholas is on his horse, a white mouse scurries onto the field. Mind you, same color mouse as Danny. And it ends up startling the horse, causing Nicholas to fall and actually killing the young Nicholas. Now, obviously, Nicholas is probably forgotten because he only shows up in like 3 chapters. And it's on top of the fact that part 7 hasn't been animated yet. But since that hasn't happened yet, I'm going to use him. Hey. Most people don't talk about him, but genuinely, he literally is the cause of Johnny's PTSD, or a really big chunk of it. The other cause is the big fight he ends up having with his father, where his father ends up kicking him out and actually referencing Nicholas saying, God, why did you take the wrong son? Do you know how ridiculous it is to say something as crazy as that? Oh dear God, why did you leave me with this disgusting pile of trash? This is also where we talk about all 3 George Joestars. I'm pretty sure the two of them are like George Joestar the first, then one of them is George Joestar the second. All 3 of them do not get talked about that much, and most of it's fair, I'm not gonna lie. Starting off with the OG universe, George Joestar the first was Jonathan Joestar's father, and he was a very kind person, but he was also blinded by his kindness. And the reason I say that is multiple. Honestly, you have what Dario Brando continued to pull throughout Jonathan's childhood, where there was also a time where he pawned George's stuff, and then he went to jail and George literally bailed him out. Then there's also the fact that when Dario literally found him, he was trying to pawn and steal most of his stuff, and George woke up and was like, oh my God, you're saving me, not looking down and seeing that this nigga is literally trying to take his ring off his hand. He's not saving you. Then once he gets older and Dio finally comes, he believes almost everything Dio does over his own son. Literally almost everything that we see from like 12 in that little montage, Jonathan kept getting the worst brunt of the stick. And mind you, Jonathan does not have a mother. His mother's passed in that awful carriage ride, so his father is just being a dickhead to him when this man is doing nothing and Dio is giving him the most slick looks ever. Do you know how mad I would be? But at the end of the day, he was literally just doing what he felt was best, especially for a kid that was straight out the slums. So you can say there is some positives to his character. But the others, well, really, the other universe, George Joestar. George Joestar second, he was also pretty cool. I mean, we never really saw anything about him at all, except the fact that he was raised by Arena and Speedwagon, and him and Lisa grew up together, and they ended up falling in love, and he went off to the Air Force, eventually got killed by one of Dio's zombies, like literally one of the last remaining Dio zombies that somehow snuck their way into society. And then Lisa killed the zombie and went on the run. Completely regular person who got caught in Dio's shenanigans, and he was only like 20. That's just sad, honestly. Now for the other George Joestar, that man right there. Oh, what a bitch he is. I hate him. I really do. You know, I was talking about it just a little bit earlier, but saying I hate you, I wish God took you instead of my other son is kind of ridiculous. Understandable, you've lost your wife, you've lost your son. Those two hits are crazy. But all your other son was literally asking for was to use his older brother's shoes. Shoes that if his older brother was there, he would have said, oh yeah, sure, I don't care. But no, you want to be a dickhead and say, oh well, you should have got new shoes. You should have known your shoes were going to fall apart. How the fuck would he still have known that? You fucking idiot. Then after kicking him out, he doesn't visit him when he goes through the absolute worst time of his life. This is probably the worst thing he could go through. He literally lost all mobility on his lower half. He became disabled. He was being mistreated by the judges in there. By the nurses in there because he was rich. Keyword was rich. He can't be rich anymore because again, he can't race anymore because his legs no longer work. He has no function in them. But did his father reach out, call, text, visit? None of that. No. Even though you couldn't text back then, but you get my fucking point. And then at the end of the steel ball race, this is a spoiler, I want to let you know, but at the end of the steel ball race, he has the audacity to show up, be like, that's my son, I'm so sorry for everything I've done to you, I'm so sorry for leaving you in the worst part of your entire life, to the point where you had to go through your own literal journey by yourself and grow and heal as a person with no parental figure and no friends. But I'm back now. You're on national TV and I'm back. I heard you throughout the newspaper. Oh, fuck him. He legitimately pisses me off. It's like very few anime characters piss me off. He legitimately pisses me off. Because everyone always says, oh, he was grieving. What about his grief? Nigga, what about your son's grief? Your son lost his mother and his older brother. And yet you're too... Oh, you know what? No. Fuck him. To end this video off, we got Shizuka Joestar, which is the only adoptive Joestar member I will talk about in this video, because Lisa, everyone still kind of talks about her. I loved Shizuka Joestar because all of her episodes were funny to me, and her power is low-key overpowered. When she grows up, especially since she's a natural stand user, when she grows up, she's going to be such a problem and issue. Part of me kind of wishes we saw her in part 6, if I'm being honest. Matter of fact, now I'm thinking about it, we would just seen like a 13-year-old girl in a prison. Nah, she would have got killed. Like, she would have died. But Shizuka Joestar was found by Josuke and Joseph in Morio, just wandering on the ground with no clothes, no nothing, and automatically invisible, with only a dog sensing her and about to attack. They found her, they got her clothes, got her some food, got her all that, right? But they realized with her power, since she's a baby and it literally has no cognitive thought for real and can't control her shit, if she gets really angry, it's just almost everything around her also turns to invincible. But even when she's really happy, everything around her also turns invisible. I remember Joseph holding her in his hand and her poof disappearing. But if I'm being honest, her power Like, we don't know much about her, and I can't say much about her because she's a little baby, but her power when she grows up would be so disgusting. Because again, I even alluded to this on my TikTok, but I was literally like, she can turn it when she understands it. She can turn herself invisible while having the weapon she's holding invisible, or she can be visible while holding a weapon. Do you know how ridiculous that is? But if you enjoyed this video, make sure to like, comment, subscribe. You know, we're on the road to 5K, so anything helps. And until next time, peace.